Hey, how's everyone doing? So, I figured I would make a video on the early 2000s, specifically back to school. Do a little bit of a nostalgia trip just to give a little background. I was born in 95, so I guess I'm considered a 90s baby. I'm right on like the border there, and I was in kindergarten I was in kindergarten in 2001, and I graduated high school in 2014. So, uh, this list I found on Cosmopolitan. Haven't looked at it, so we're gonna sort of just dive into some of the nostalgia here. And some of this stuff probably won't pertain necessarily to me personally, but I should remember most of these things. All right, so the first one up, the Razor phone. Yes. So I didn't get a flip phone till, God, I couldn't tell you, maybe around age 11 or 12, something like that. The reason, the only reason back then for a kid to really have a phone was if they were uh, if their parents allowed them to, you know, go around town by themselves, stuff like that. It was a way just to either call your parents, say you need to get picked up, or for your parents just to call you just to check up on you. My mom had a Razor flip phone. I never had one of these because right around the time when I was old enough to have a phone, I had a flip phone for a little bit, and then one year on my birthday, this is when texting was becoming a bigger thing. I got a slider phone. I can't remember the name of it. It wasn't. It might have been the Banter. Um, and then I also later got a phone that flipped up like a flip phone, and then it had a little mechanism like right here in the corner where you could flip it up the other direction to text as well. So let's move on. Don't know what the hell these are. Push a point pencils. I don't remember these. These look like these are more for girls. So we're gonna move on to the next one. Uh, I remember the old school computer windows looking like this, but this specifically I don't pertain to. What is this? Oh, uh, Instant Messenger. AOL, Instant Messenger. I do recall that. I never used it because, again, it was around the time where, for me personally, social media, first social media I ever used was MySpace. And then I used MySpace for, I don't know, a couple years. And then Facebook kind of pushed MySpace out. Lunchables. Yes. My favorite Lunchables were the. So, first of all, these specific Lunchables, these smaller ones, are the way to go for me personally, mainly because the ones that were in like the bigger boxes had a Capri Sun, and I liked Capri Sun, but if I ever ate a Lunchable, I typically had a drink already, so the Capri Sun was just sort of an afterthought in my mind. My favorites were the bologna and cheese and the ham and cheddar. I mean, they were all good. Uh, this may be a bit of a hot take, but the pizza one I liked, but didn't eat it as much. I felt like I was a little bit lazy, so I felt like the whole process of having to put together your lunch was a bit of too much. We'll just say for me. Moving on, backpacks, JanSport specifically. Yep, I remember JanSport. Uh, A lot of people still use JanSport for a go-to backpack. I mean, I personally think a backpack is a backpack. I have a North Face one that I like to use because it's good quality, it's comfortable, it's fairly compact, but a backpack is really a backpack to me. What is this? Sequin purses? Sure. Like I said, some of these aren't going to pertain to me. I didn't carry a purse as a child. Scented fluorescent highlighters. Don't remember. Oh, mini highlighters. I guess I remember these. I more specifically remember like scented other stuff. The messenger hat. Okay, we're gonna keep moving on. Stretchy shirt. I do remember these. Um, let's move on. I just realized I'm on a Cosmo site, so it's gonna be a lot of girl stuff. Book socks. Okay, so I do remember these a lot. For some reason, uh, some of my teachers, because textbooks weren't a thing until for me middle school. Elementary school textbooks weren't a thing, but middle school, there were two or one rule specific that was very stupid, and that was that you, depending on the class that you're going to, you had to have your textbook, no matter what. It didn't matter if you were going to get, because textbooks were mainly used for homework. The teacher would teach their, typical curriculum or whatever, and then textbooks were used for homework. But every teacher said that you had to have your textbook all the time, and sometimes teachers would say you'd get in trouble if you didn't have your textbook, and over half the time, you didn't have enough time to start homework for at the end of class, so there was no need to have them. I remember my sixth grade year, my school, sixth grade was the whole top floor, including like lockers and stuff like that. The only thing that wasn't on the top floor was like, the cafeteria and the gym and stuff like that. But all the classrooms, every, what do you call it? Every class, like math, history, science, and English, and I think reading was a class or something like that, were all on the top floor. And so, in my three classes that I had were, I believe, history, science, and math, and all three of them had a textbook. So, me being an idiot, instead of going back to my locker and then going to my class, I would, because I've always, even as a kid, been pretty punctual and being on time. So what I would do is I would carry all three textbooks with me instead of going back to my locker, switching out textbooks and stuff like that. And it made sense to me personally. But yes, I remember book socks. And another thing, I feel like I'm going on too long with textbooks, but one last thing. Um, Teachers, some didn't allow book socks for some reason. I don't know why. So they would show you how to do the old paper bag trick, and then you could basically label on the front, what class it was because it was a paper bag and stuff like that. But yeah, let's move on. Again, this is I'm gonna skip through some of these, but some of you will remember these. Okay, Jesus. Locker organizer. I do not remember these. My sixth grade year, since all the lockers were on the top floor for everyone, sixth graders had I guess you would call it a normal size locker. So, I don't know what, like a foot and a half wide, maybe 2 feet wide, something like that. And so everyone had their own, well, I mean, everyone had their own locker regardless. But then once you went to seventh and eighth grade, These wouldn't work because the lockers were, I swear, probably maybe 10 inches wide. No, I'd say 10 inches wide, maybe a foot, if that. And so they're really skinny. You were able to fit, like, I don't know, a pair of shoes and like your coat and stuff like that in your locker. And then there was a little latch up at one of the corners, depending on which way your locker swinged. And you would push that latch, and there would be a little compartment up above that would open up, and that's where you would, and it was wider. And so that's where you would put your textbooks and stuff that couldn't fit normally in your locker. Mr. Sketch sent it. So we're going back to like centered or scented markers. I remember these scented markers specifically. I don't know why it was a thing. Marketing behind that, I feel like made a pretty big mistake because if you smell scented markers, you start to assume that every marker is scented, which wasn't the case. Ah, so mechanical pencils. These were the refills for lead for mechanical pencils. I personally didn't have my own mechanical pencils. It was either a friend who had one or I happened to find one and then have to find a friend who maybe had refills. I was more of an OG, you know, number two pencil, but I do remember that it was always the best if you found somebody who had a mechanical pencil with thicker lead because it was pretty smooth to write on. What did they call it? Pencil grips. So I remember pencil grips being a thing because of writing specifically. If you're, what am I trying to say? If your writing was sloppy, teachers would notice if it was sloppy, so they would give you these pencil grips. And basically, what it did was it uh, had you sort of learn how to hold the pencil the right way. And I guess it was supposed to make it so that your writing looked better. But that's the only time I remember pencil grips really being a thing. The 5-star notebooks. Everyone had these. This is the bigger spiral one. This is like the bougie notebook right here. I remember having these. I think I had like one or two of these like bigger notebooks, but the rest of them were the small ones because the only classes I remember having to take notes during class on were, well, I should say all the classes made you take notes, but the only class where I really took notes in because the teacher would, take it pretty seriously was math. That's really the only time I remember having to use a notebook. Whiteout, we can look past that. Whiteout, I don't think any kids really carried whiteout personally, unless you were wanted to take a lot of notes. Otherwise, the only time I really needed whiteout, obviously, if I messed up on something and I would ask a teacher for it. And I remember before this, it was just like a little bottle of liquid and like a mini paintbrush that you would use. And then you'd have to blow on it and then wait. There was never whiteout tape. Binder pencil pouches. Yeah, I remember having one of these like sixth grade for a little bit and then realized not really necessary unless you're like in art class. Um, as long as you have like a couple pencils, maybe a highlighter, that's all you really need. So you didn't really need this. Personally for me. Oh boy, eraser caps. These were something that I didn't use, but because it's like if I'm using a pencil and it runs out, typically the eraser is still going to be there. It's very rare that you use an eraser enough that the eraser becomes gone. The only time I would say these were useful is if you had a pencil that the eraser was there, but the eraser was complete shit and did not work. It was like too hard, or the eraser would completely go away after using it like 2 times. That was really the only time that these were needed. And then the big erasers, um, I felt like eraser caps wouldn't be needed at all because you had these big erasers instead. So I don't know. It's just my opinion. Don't remember those. The Sony CD player. I had one of these. I remember having one of these because from let me see here. I think like the first couple days of kindergarten, my mom gave me a ride to school, and then um I remember eventually going to the bus stop and riding the bus. So this was sort of a saving grace for me because I didn't have any particular friends on the bus on the way to school. So I would listen to music on my Sony uh, portable CD player. And this was a lot of fun. The only problem was if you hit a bump or you moved it uh, just a little too much, too fast, it would skip. Other than that, not bad. $300 I just realized on Amazon. Holy shit! All right, we're gonna move on. These calculators, I remember. This is another one of those calculators where we called it a scientific calculator. Um, in high school, I believe, possibly like eighth grade, if you were in an advanced math class, it was required that you had to have a scientific calculator. Um, I don't know why. Uh, I don't get it. Why there were stupid requirements, but hey, whatever. Glitter glue. Yes, I remember glitter glue. I more remember using Elmer's glue, just the normal stuff, like you would paint or like do an outline of whatever you wanted, on like a piece of construction paper, and then you would take glitter and go over the glue, and then you would let it set for I don't know a couple minutes, and then you would blow the excess off, and it would just like blow your mind because of how cool it looked to have like a glitter like painting, if you will. Let's move on. Glue sticks. Yep. Remember these? Elmer's was the king of the glue game, and it looks like they still are. Uh, I was gonna say, typically glue sticks were purple, some white, but yeah, I mean, only time you really used them was if you had to do like a project or something to do in art class. Which, let me be clear here. So I was never the artsy type when I was younger. I remember kindergarten to fifth grade, art was where the whole class went to the art teacher and, did whatever, be it pottery or whatever. And then once you hit sixth grade, it was one of those things where it's like you can do arts or you don't have to. It was an elective. And I never, from sixth grade on, never did art again. I don't know why, but just wasn't really my thing. Wasn't really interested. Uh, giant binders. Okay, gonna move on. I remember them. Jewel cases. I have no idea what those are. CD pages or CD binders. I remember these. Um, I had one of these growing up. It was definitely convenient, but I feel like nowadays, if you have a CD binder, it's I wouldn't say it's not cool, but it's better to have the full CD case, like CD album case, because it's got more value to it, of course. Shuttle pens, I remember these. So I never had one of these personally, but I remember seeing them around. Uh, if you never have heard of what these are pens that you can use for multiple colors. So you push one of these down, and let's say it's green, and then you click a button up top, and it retracts it back up, and then you can pull down another one that could be red and orange and all different colors. Don't know what the point of them was, but they were cool. Capri Sun, of course. Remember those? All right. So, anyone who grew up in my time period knew that these were the shit in gym class, but you always would run over your fingers with them. And I didn't realize this until, I don't know, until I was in my early to mid 20s. These things right here, these little handles on the outside, they're not to hold on to. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to put your fingers into that hole right there and hold on from the inside, because these things on the outside are to protect your fingers from either getting slammed into by another person or what have you, or obviously to prevent you from running over your fingers. And I didn't realize that till I was much older. Lip Smacker, I don't remember the brand specifically, but I do remember different flavored types of chapstick. Looks like Coca-Cola had their variety pack. What you got? Cherry Coke, Vanilla Coke, Sprite. Was that root beer? I think that's Barks. Yeah, root beer. Different Fanta flavors. I remember those flavors very well. Oh, stamper markers. I forgot about these. These, again, never really understood why. I remember seeing people like use like the star one or like a smiley face one or whatever, and just try and stamp a whole piece of paper with these, but never really understood them. And of course, the clunky pencil box. I'm assuming these were before pencil pouches. These were, again, inconvenient, but I guess necessary for some people. I remember on a couple occasions having one of these. I would completely, or I'd have it open and it would like fall off my desk, or I'd trip and it would just go all over the place, and it was just a nightmare situation to have. But yeah, overall, $90 on Amazon. $90. That's insane. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little nostalgia trip that I decided to go on. If you did, please hit the like button, and I will see you guys in the next video.